Hi lads and lasses, welcome to Darts Coaching with Dynamite Dave. What we're going to address today is, as I mentioned in the last video, we're going to start the basics right from the beginning. So if you're a new player, if you've bought a dartboard and what have you over Christmas, if you've come back to it in the last couple of months and what have you, I'm hoping here that I'll be able to give you the building blocks and the foundations of a really effective darts throw. So throw your first dart in, and then your second dart at your first dart's flight, and then your third dart at your first dart's flight, and there you go. Unfortunately, throughout the years, and there'll be a little bit of waffling in these videos because it really does need to be said, over the years, and I think everybody will agree with this, when you started playing darts, somebody just gave you a set of darts and you just hurled them at the board, what we call hooling them, or just chucking them, whichever way you wanted to. Didn't matter whether it was over here, throwing them from underneath here, underarmed, it didn't matter. What you did was you threw them the way that you thought would be most effective for yourself. Well, like with any sport, so let's say golf or anything, don't matter what it is really, rugby, cricket, athletics, let's say shot put or discus. Over the years, those sports have been developed, whereas darts has not. Darts started off as a pub game, and obviously in the pub, over the years, from the 1930s when it first started, or before that, people just flung the darts at the board. But now it's become far more serious a prospect, and people like to get good at things. And I believe that if you do things the right way, you're going to get better at those things much quicker. Let's see if you agree with this, right? If there's a right way to hold a cricket bat, if there's a right way to hold a snooker cue, if there's a right way to hold a javelin, then I'm damn sure as night follows day that there's a correct way to throw a dart. Now, what did Dynamite Dave do? I spent 2.5 years developing this. Went out to the man shed. It's a massive long story that if you go back in the archives you can find quite easily. But basically it took me 2.5 years, and what I did was I started from the ground upwards and worked out the best way to throw darts. And this works for virtually anybody. Obviously, if you don't actually want to do it, then you're never going to be able to do it. My catchphrase is, you'll only ever get out of this game what you're prepared to put in. And there's never a truer word said, and it doesn't matter what you're talking about in life, you only ever get out what you're prepared to put in. So if you're prepared to put the effort in, and you're prepared to do the legwork, all you've got to do is look at the comments over my videos. There's over 400 videos on this channel. Just go and read the comments. That's all I ask you to do. The other thing that I ask you to do, really serious about this, especially when you've watched this video, if you're really enthused by it and you find that the common sense speaks to you, then massive thumbs up. So hit that thumbs up, put a comment down below. Really enjoyed the video, fantastic video, Dave. Ask me some questions if you want to ask me a question. Make some comments if that's what you want to do. But even more importantly than that, and this costs absolutely nothing, not 1 cent, go down there and click that subscribe button. Click the subscribe button, and if you want to get notifications every time a new video comes out, so you can keep up with this series, hit the notification bell. There's a little ding dong bell next to it. Give that a good smash. And then what it'll do is it'll inform you every time I fetch a new video out. Right, so back on with it. So if there's a right way to do all those other sports, virtually every sport, these are the basic elements. You've got the stance, so you've got the foot position, and then you've got the leg position. You've got the second section, which is the upper body position, or the torso, talking about thorax neutral. That's something else we'll be talking about. And then we go up to the throw, which is the mechanical throw. And the Dynamite Dave way is exactly the same. We start off with the basic skills, so basically potting the balls. So we start off with that, and then as we go along, we teach you how to sort of like, how can I explain this? Manipulate the darts to go them where you want them to do. So stacking on, being able to basically throw round a dart that's in a position where it's blocking you from getting to the bed, rather than moving 6 feet over and making the distance between you and the board greater. Great ways to do things, these, and you'll learn all these over the next few weeks. So, what's very, very important, do you think, about the foot position? Now, I'm asking you as a question, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you. So have a think about that for a few seconds, and what I'll do is I'll tell you exactly what's important about it. It's one of my sayings. I'm going to put it up here now. The board never moves, only you do. Right? The board is nailed to the wall, or screwed to the wall, or hung on the wall, whichever way you want to put it. The board never moves. It doesn't move up and down, and it doesn't move side to side. But as sure as night follows day again, you do. So it's very important that you stand in the same place and in the same way every time you come to that board. Obviously, you're going to be millimeters out. It's going to be microscopically different because you're not a robot, so you're not going to be able to stand in exactly the same place every time. But the closer you get it and the more mechanical your throw is, the better you're going to become. And you'll become a lot more accurate. And if you do this, you'll get a lot less of those 1s and 5s. Everybody, and I mean everybody, says to me, I'm sick to death, I'm not consistent, I keep it in the 1s and the 5s. And that is because you're moving about on the hockey. You're moving about on the hockey, or you throw one dart, and because it doesn't go where you want it to, you try and change very slightly the way that you're delivering the next dart. That isn't the way you do it. You carry on delivering the dart the way that you know you should. And these are all things that I'll go through in the next 2 or 3 or 4 videos. Right, so what is the correct way to stand? So what we'll do now is we'll put the foot cam at the bottom, at the bottom corner of the video. So you'll be able to see that quite clearly. First of all, I'm going to point with my toes. Right, so what we've got is we've got the centre of the board here. Right, we've got, as I'm looking at the board, we've got double 11 marked there, and we've got double 6 marked there. Why have I done that? For the simple reason is again, this is going further into it, but I want to explain to you here what the logic is, so you get what the thinking is behind it. If that is double 11, and I've got 3 darts in hand and I want to go for double 8, I know I just need to be slightly on the inside of that, and it's just a straight delivery to the board, straight into the double 8. Double 7, slightly further in, and a slight lean down, straight into the double 7. And as we go along over the weeks and months, you'll see how accurate the way that the Dynamite Dave way is, and it is absolutely mind-blowing when you get it off to a tee. Right, so how do we do the Dynamite Dave stance? Right, we're starting with the foot position. So here we go with the foot position. And this is the theory behind it. Right, you've got 2 feet and you stood like that. How we stand at the dartboard is exactly the same way as when we're talking to somebody or when we're stood at the bar. If you're stood at the bar, the last thing you do is this. Because as you can see, you can see just by looking at my feet and my body, I am not stable. I'm just not stable. So why would you do that to gain an extra 1.5 centimetres or 2 centimetres to the board, but become 5% closer to the board, but 25 to 30% less stable? Doesn't make sense, does it, if you think about it? The more stable you are, the more accurate your throw is, and the more consistent it is. So we stand like this. That gives you an idea. That's a straight line. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to move round for the right-handers, and I'll show you how to do it right-handed. So what we do is we come to the hockey and we put our foot like this, not like this, because that'll put strain on your knee. You're putting strain on your knee over, if you've got a 10-set game, it could be well over 1,000 visits, and you don't want to be doing that with strain on you. So what we do is we turn it, so the flat part of your foot, so you've got the piece like that if you're standing square on, and then you've got your toe that comes across, very similar to this, and that is the bit that we want on the thing of the actual hockey itself. What we do is we line the thing at the end of the little toe. So the end of your little toe inside the shoe, you can imagine that. You line that up with the centre of the board. Then what we do is we stand perfectly square onto it like that. So we've got one foot pointing that way, that foot very slightly that way, just to take the pressure off the knee. And then what we do is we stood up, bang up straight, no leaning forward, no leaning back like this. Stand up straight, just like you were talking to your mate at the bar. Then all we do from there is we turn our head towards the board. As we turn our head towards the board, we allow this shoulder to come out very slightly. And if we do that and you look, you will see that your face is bang on the centre of that bullseye. Obviously getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but when it comes to the mechanical throw, you'll see there is a line right up the centre of your body, right up underneath your armpit, right down your arm, so everything is in line. And that's what it's all about. It's all about straight lines and straight line throwing, and that's exactly what it is. If you've got over here and you're coming across yourself, you're never going to be accurate. If you're over here coming across yourself, you're just not going to be accurate. It's as simple as that. You might be to a degree, and I can hear people in the background saying, what about Phil Taylor? What about this person? What about that person? A massive difference to it. And the thing is you see, is we fought one way all the way through from the 1930s, 1940s. They call it board management up until today. When I started doing this over a decade ago, because of the way that my brain's wired, I thought about it a different way. I'll explain that again in a later video, so make sure you keep coming back. Right, so that's how we set ourselves up with a foot position, rock solid on the floor. Now if you get someone, if you stand in this position and get someone just to give you a shove, a little bit of a shove, they'll shove you and you'll feel solid. If you stand like this, like a lot of people do to throw darts, you do that, put your arm up and get somebody to give you a poke in the side, and just you watch how wobbly you are. And that's another one of my sayings, wibbly wobbly. If you're wibbly wobbly, you're moving, right? The dartboard doesn't move, but that means if you were looking at it as like a negative of a photograph, you'd be stood still and the board would be wobbling all over the place. How difficult do you think that it would be to hit that dartboard if it was on the end of a spring? And every time you threw a dart in it, it just wobbled all over the place, up and down, side to side, and you were trying to throw at it again. Makes the game virtually impossible, doesn't it? And that's exactly what you're doing to yourself. If you're up on your foot like this and you're leaning forward and you're wobbling all over the place, you're making it so that board is moving. You're the one that's moving, but in theory and in practice, it's exactly the same as if you were stood still and the board were moving. And how difficult would that be? Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come round and I'm going to do it for the left-handers. So again, remembering, nice and steady. It's as simple as this. You just stood up there like I'm talking to the camera now, exactly the same. Then what you do is you turn yourself side on, like this. Again, if you want, you can stand this way with your foot slightly away from the hockey before you address. Then slide your foot up to the hockey and turn your foot very slightly. So you've got that nice little bit of a bend in it. Right, now what we do again is we stand up perfectly straight, looking that way. What we do is we rock a tiny little bit of weight onto the front foot to plant it. So obviously if you're stood at the bar, you've got even weight on both feet. All you need to do is literally shift your body quarter of an inch, half an inch forward to plant that foot on the floor. Don't lift that back foot up off the floor. Do not allow it to even get less pressure on the floor than it's got. If you rock forward like that, you can feel it. Just planting. Just rock like that and you can feel your front foot planting onto the floor. That's all you need. Seriously, that is all you need. Just plant it onto the floor that tiny little bit. As I say, we're looking this way, and what we do is we look across to the board over our shoulder, and as the arm comes up, what we do is if you go like this, you will see then that you are looking straight down the centre of that bullseye, right down the centre. As we come to set up with a mechanical throw, I'll show you how you allow this shoulder to come out very slightly to allow you to get into the board rather than trying to force yourself. It becomes a lot more natural, becomes a lot more consistent, and obviously it works 10 times better. Right, so that's this video. Again, hopefully I've taught you something here and you've learned something. If you have, make sure that you share this video. Make sure you share it, make sure you like it, make sure you put some comments on it. Do that whole subscribing thing. Makes a massive difference to me, an absolute massive difference. And if we want everybody in the pub to get better, this is what the path that we need to go down. The more people know about this and the more people adopt it, the more it gets into the game, the better people are going to be right from the bottom. And let's face it, if you go to the pub and you can play competitively, you feel better for it, you feel more passionate about the game. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people out there that are absolute garbage and they really love the game. But can you imagine how much more passionate they feel if they could actually chuck properly? Get them over to this channel and let's get everybody chucking properly. Right, so thanks for watching Darts Coaching with Dynamite Dave. Don't forget, you will only ever get out of this game what you're prepared to put in. And always, 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 two to the hockey!